actually got now is I'd like to introduce Niels to you. Now, many of you know him because he's been a fantastic presenter to a lot of the sessions and run the courses together with Tom. Thank you, the second slide works. And his tremendous background in computing, and he's going to actually lead us in, and he's done a lot of fantastic courses on his own. He's done courses with Tom, etc. And at that stage, I'd like to pass you across to Niels, who's speaking to us from Japan. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. So still some microphone is on, it seems. Margaret, can you mute your microphone because it echoes? Yeah, thank you. So yes, well, I coach teams to deliver better results in less time. I'm an electronic engineer by birth. Electronic engineers learn from the first minute to quantify things. Otherwise, how can you calculate the result? But not everybody is trained as an electronic engineer. So I help teams to be more efficient, more effective, and more predictable. Usually people think they can do that or that's not possible to do it better. So they only ask me when they need project rescue, when it's really going bad. But even then, it's usually not too difficult to get the project back on track. And sometimes I like it to, if somebody asks me, to still develop an electronic product, because actually I like that even better. Project types, I have been coaching about 400 teams in the past 25 years in 13 countries in the world. Yeah, electronics, firmware, software, space, road, rail, telecom, industrial control, parking system, whatever. You see, what I do is all about human behavior. Because usually the people in the team, they know their technical things, well, kind of. But what usually is lacking is some human behavior response. So just to start with, let's first think the ultimate goal of what we do. Delivering the right result at the right time, wasting as little time as possible. And I call that quality, the right stuff, on time, at the right time. Providing the customer with what they need, which is usually not what they say, at the time they need it, which may be earlier or later than they say, to be satisfied, then they may want to pay, and to be more successful than they were without it. Because if they're not more successful with our product than before, why should they pay? Constrained by, I mean, customer is king, but we are not slaves. So what the customer can afford, usually what the customer wants, they cannot afford. Yeah, can you give me a car? Yes, I can give you a Rolls Royce. Oh, nice. What does it cost? Give me a Volkswagen. Yeah. So what we mutually, beneficially, and satisfactorily can deliver in a reasonable period of time. How about this as the top level requirement? Yeah, to be quantified, of course, Tom. Yeah. For what we do. And in the past 25 years, well, maybe longer, I filled my toolbox with things we can do, but what I mention here is mostly technical. Yeah, a lot of stuff is covered by Tom. Yeah, business case, requirements engineering, architectural design, early review and inspection, plan to check act as the way to improve constantly. But what I added was planning, execution of it. It's nice to know what we have to achieve, but how do we optimize and most efficiently achieve it? And therefore I added EVO planning, the weekly task cycle, the bi-weekly delivery cycle, and timeline. I'm not going to in detail. If you want to know, you can ask or go to my website, and on the bottom often I put some links there. So, zero defects is an attitude. People think zero defects is impossible. Well, I can prove you that it is not impossible. You can find my zero defects video on YouTube. It's some presentation. Business case is why are we going to improve something? Requirements is what, how much, and are we done? Yeah, that's why you need all this quantification. Architecture and design, selecting, as Tom already said, the optimum compromise for the conflicting requirements. How to do it. Early review and inspection, to check and learn as possible where we did something wrong before the customer finds out. Weekly task cycle, to be efficient in what we do, to solve what we are supposed to achieve. Delivery cycle, the effectiveness of what we do. And timeline, what will happen in the coming weeks if we do it this way, and what will we do about it? You know, most projects take more time than we want, right? So the moment you make a timeline of your work, you will see that it will take longer than you would like to see. So the big question there is, what are we going to do about it? Because failure is not an option. And often we can do a lot. Otherwise, I wouldn't be talking here. It's about the right result at the right time, quality on time. So that's my toolbox of actually technical things in what to achieve and how to optimize achieving it. But human behavior, in all those years I've been coaching projects, I found a lot of human behavior issues that are very important to recognize, to see what we can do with knowing this. Yeah? Systems are conceived, designed, implemented, maintained, used, and tolerated or not by people. People react quite predictably. Maybe some people don't believe that, because often they react differently what we intuitively think. Therefore, we think they react unpredictable. But that's just because they react differently from what we think. Often we ignore human behavior in our development, right? Incorrectly assume behavior or decide how people should behave. Aha. So to be successful, shouldn't we study and adapt to real behavior rather than assumed behavior? Even if we don't agree. Yeah, there was some movie some time ago, yeah, where somebody who was engaged with another guy went with a pilot on a plane to an island, and on the island something happened. They shouldn't do that. Well, if they do, they do. They're only human. So, how should people behave? Yeah, we think they should behave in a certain way. So let's look at this case of a parking system. Yeah, this was a company making parking systems already for years. They know exactly what a parking system is and what the requirements are, but it was all spaghetti. So they said, we start from zero again to do it cleanly. And then they asked, well, actually, I heard that they first asked Tom, but Tom was a little bit too expensive. Sorry, Tom only talks to the CEO. So they asked me to be the quality manager to watch and advise invited and uninvited. At least that was a good approach. So there was a certain demo. Every 2 weeks they had a demo, yeah, to show what they had accomplished so far. And the R&D boss said, now may I do something? They said, huh? No, this is a demo. We are showing what we have done. I said, come on, guys. If the computer is out there, you're not there to handhold the computer. So let the boss do something. What can he do? So they said, can you fill in here credit card number? Now, I'm sure that if you're in a parking system and you're having to pay, you don't want to fill in your credit card number. But this was what happened there. So let's not go into detail whether this was right or wrong. So what happened? Crash. Why? Because he didn't type in his credit card number. He typed in his name. And they said, you should put your credit card number in there, not your name. Well, 20% of the software there is there to make the computer do what it should do, and 80% is there to make sure it does not what it should not do. Did you quantify that? Did you specify that? So thinking about user behavior, Yeah, R&D boss just did something, and the computer shouldn't get stuck by that. So I have many mantras for my teams if I coach them, and one of them is we are so deformed, we don't anymore know what normal people find normal. And another mantra, the user is always right, even if they're not. We are not there to handheld the computer to make sure it does what it should do and doesn't do what it shouldn't do. The computer must know how to do it themselves. And you can say, well, sometimes blah, blah, blah. Of course, it always depends, but all these mantras are a little bit black and white just to make a point. So talking about the sprint demo, yeah, they said, oh, you're not supposed to do anything, we only demo. I said, well, how about from now on, if we have a sprint demo, we give the delivery to the stakeholders, we zip our mouth, keep our hands on our back, and observe what happens. Because then you get real feedback. If you just show something, they say, whoa, it's kind of boring. Why is that button yellow? Shouldn't it be blue? New requirement, button should be blue. Come on, guys. Yeah, observe people, what they do, and they will do different things than you thought. And you want to know the things they're going to do. So we have a lot of assumptions. Other mantra, better assume that at least some of our assumptions are wrong. Better assume our assumptions are wrong. We have to check them. Example, assumption, it can't be done, they don't allow it. Did you ever observe users of your software? Ask the software team. I said the sales manager already told me he can make arrangement with some customers. You can go there and you can observe them. Yeah, but they are in another country. Yeah, the boss never lets us go there. Yeah. Now I said, very important sentence. Did you ask? So I went to the boss. I said, boss, shouldn't they go to the other country to observe users of our software? The sales manager already made arrangements. You know what the boss said? Of course they should. So don't assume that he won't allow it. Check it. Other assumptions. Procurement manager. I should travel to China with an engineer to discuss the plastic casing with our supplier, but the boss never would let us go there. That's what he told me. Well, you already know how the story goes. Did you ask? I went to the boss. Shouldn't they travel to China to discuss the detail of the new casing? Of course they should. After returning from China, the guy said, discussing on-site saved us many engineering iterations because we could short-circuit these personally very quickly. So don't assume it can't be done. Did you ask? Then there are many typical human behavior elements, and I'll mention some of them. Discipline. And I found in some dictionary, discipline, control of wrong inclinations. How about that? You know exactly how you should do things properly, but if nobody's watching, we take shortcuts. Be honest. I mean, I saw all these things I'm talking about first in myself. And then I looked around and I thought, well, I'm not that special. Yeah. So if nobody's watching, we take shortcuts. So discipline is difficult. And when years ago, I was talking about discipline in another presentation, there was a guy who said, yes, I know this book. And in Romans 7:19, it says, the good that I want to do, I do not. he said, it continues, the bad that I do not want to do, I do. And therefore, he said, the book is, to him, is completely true. Therefore, humans are evil because they don't do the good and they do the bad. I said, well, I don't want to write down that second part because I think most people want to do the right thing. Maybe there's some trouble causing them that they can't do it. So what are things we could do? So I see these things in projects, in teams, people working, and then some examples of what we can do, helping each other. Now, if you're working and somebody watches you over your shoulder, do you like that? It feels like policing, right? And you say, go away, I'm busy. Yeah, especially if it's your boss. So once you recognize that discipline is difficult and that it will hurt you later, and that if somebody is watching over your shoulder, that it is easier to keep the discipline, you can now invite people to watch over your shoulder instead of saying, go away. Rapid success. Yeah. If I suggest people to do something differently and I say in 1 year, everything will be better, guess what happens? Nothing. Yeah. If I say, do this 3 weeks for me, I've done it in hundreds of projects and every time it worked. So statistically, there is a possibility that it also works with you. So why not try it for 3 weeks and then you can decide yourself. And the trick is that the things I suggest usually work within 2 weeks. Bring mistakes. If somebody makes a mistake, you hit the wall, there is some pain of the mistake, but the pain very quickly fades. So there's a short window of opportunity to suggest the person, what did we do wrong? I'll talk a lot later about never say, what did you do wrong? Another element of our behavior is intuition. What is intuition? I found in a dictionary, quick and ready insight, how we automatically react on a situation. It is fed by experience. Before birth, it's instinct. After birth, with experience, you feed your intuition, how you automatically react on situations. Yeah. I'm hungry. Am I going to make a quality function deployment table? Yeah, or possible solutions, or how to solve my hunger by the moment. Well, of course, with AI now we can do it faster. Yeah, but if I make the table and by the time the table is ready, I'm gone because I should have eaten. So intuition is hungry, get something to eat. It's free. It's always with us and you can't even turn it off. It's a survival strategy. Yeah. But if intuition would be perfect, everything we do would be perfect, right? Not everything we do is perfect. Therefore, apparently, sometimes intuition shows us the wrong direction. That's where I come in as a coach. Yeah? If I see things could be done in a different way to have better results, we can try to redirect intuition, to feed them with experience. Don't tell them what to do. Feed them with their experience so that they build new intuition for doing the things better. And one thing is, sleeping on it may help us to make better decisions. Yeah. So at the end of the day, you made a decision to do something. And then sometimes it's good to sleep on it and the next day think, is it really the right decision, the right thing to do? And this is exactly what happened when we wanted to buy a house in Japan. The house where I am in at the moment, we saw it, we loved it, And at the end of the day, we told the agent, we want to buy it. He said, sleep over it. And tomorrow you may decide. And we are still happy with it. So, is user intuition wrong or is the design wrong? Some pharmacist told me this, that in the pharmacy, there were sleeping pills in red boxes and activation pills in blue boxes. I don't know what activation pills are, but apparently they exist. Yeah, and that was in blue boxes. Guess what happens? Sometimes they gave the wrong box. Then they said, let's change the colors. They never, ever anymore gave the wrong box. Why? Because for most people, red is an active color and blue is a more quiet color. So was the user or the pharmacy person intuition wrong, or was the design wrong? Another very important. Some people say there are 3 important things in getting your work right. Communication, communication, and communication. So what are we talking about here? Imagine a traffic accident. Bang! And you look behind you and you see an accident. Other people see the accident. The moment you see that, in your mind, the story develops, how it came about. You see some braking tracks on the street and things like that. The thing is, the guys usually see the garage at the corner of the street, and the ladies see the fashion shop just behind the car. Yeah, just generalizing a little bit, but yeah, different witnesses not only see different things, focus on different things, but everything we start making up a story about what happened. Why, all we saw was the car in front against the tree. Yeah, well, there are more things about communication. So, same words, different concepts. People make a story about what happened, and they build that on concepts of accident and molding that concept of accident, which they have been seen on television, which they may have been in or so, they mold it to this accident. And because all these people's history is different, all the stories in all those minds will be different. So witnesses usually don't lie if they tell what they think happened. They just tell what they developed in their mind. Same words, different ideas. And we're quite happy with fuzzy concepts. Why? Survival strategy. Yeah. Because if the concepts in your mind are a little bit fuzzy, from time to time, you suddenly see a different thing that you didn't think of before. So it has a good function. Now, sometimes we are so fuzzy in our mind that we get stuck in our thinking. So you've done that before. You go to a colleague and you start explaining. You say this and that and that and that, and suddenly you say, now I know. The other guy had no idea what you were talking about. But because you had to unfuzzy to make sentences to explain what you think you were talking about, suddenly you saw it better yourself. Now, instead of explaining it to a colleague, wasting the colleague's time, why not explaining it to paper? And now I understood why people have some resistance to documenting things. Because you thought in your mind it was completely clear, but now you have to write it down, and it wasn't that clear because you start writing, you start changing, moving, adding, and I thought it was completely clear. Well, and if it's in your mind, nobody can help you to see the flaws in your thinking. Yeah. If it's written down, you can see the flaws, and they can see the flaws, and we can discuss and optimize. And then every time I see requirements or designs or whatever, I keep saying, where are the pictures? because a picture is worth 1,000 words. Vocal communication evaporates immediately, and email communication almost immediately. Okay, that's about communication. My father said about communication, he said, communication is talking as near as possible past each other. Yeah, don't think you talk to each other. Don't assume you understand, because both have different histories, different starting concepts to build this concept on. So therefore, in their mind, it will be different. And that was happened in this case. I was sitting, not in this picture, but on a big table. I was sitting on the side, and the customer and the supplier were sitting on both ends. And they were discussing what the customer wanted from the supplier. And the supplier had some questions. And at the end, the guy said, "Can you deliver in 2 weeks?" Yeah, I can. So I saw above these people, I saw such a cloud of what I think in my mind, what they were thinking in their mind. So he was thinking, if I ask, "Can you deliver in 2 weeks?" that he will get it in 2 weeks. The other guy, in his mind, I had the image of, well, maybe I have time. So better assume our assumptions are wrong. Never discuss deliver in 2 weeks. Put a date there. Because if you agree deliver in 2 weeks, then the other person after 2 weeks will say, "Yeah, in 2 weeks I'm there." So use a date. So I explained that to the guys when they wanted to go to their places. I said, "This is what you think, and this is what you think." That's different. So then they spent another 20 minutes to try to make more, to get more near in their communication. Even the supplier starting to phone his company to see what they actually could do. And then, after all this, imagine your team, the people you work with. Communication. Another interesting element is perception. Now, what is perception? That's a little bit more difficult word, I think. And in the Merriam-Webster dictionary, it says quick, acute, and intuitive cognition. Yeah. Oxford dictionaries, when it was still free, I found this intuitive understanding and insight. You see, in both had the word intuitive. So actually, perception is recognition, cognition of something past your logic brain, immediately into your intuition. What we think, we understand. I read an academic paper where I found these sentences. What people say and what they do is not always the same. Hidden emotions are often the drivers of behavior. The head knows, but the heart decides. And they have an example, and I call that the vanilla ice cream effect. They said they did a survey. They asked people one day, if you are at the ice cream parlor, which are the kinds of flavors you would like to choose from? And everybody could easily click. I like strawberry, I like vanilla, I like chocolate. The next day they said, now you go to the ice cream parlor and you have to buy it, pay with your money, and you have to eat it yourself. What happened? They said, whether it's true or not, that's another story. They still tended to buy those that were fundamentally vanilla. Yeah. So what people say and what they do is not the same. What's the value of marketing research if we don't observe what people do, only ask what people do? Yeah. Don't believe what they say, check it. Don't believe what you think they say, check it. And this is such an important one. Excuses, excuses, excuses. We are so good at making excuses. We've been trained from childhood to make excuses. Yeah. Your mother said you have to be at home at 8 o'clock, and at 9 o'clock you had to you explained why it was utterly impossible to be there at 8. We all know that, right? And it was always them that caused us to fail and not us, right? Well, at the fatal day in our work, excuses in vain, we failed. Yeah, but we really couldn't do anything about it. Well, in this case, I have my bullshit stamp. I use my bullshit stamp in coaching a lot if I hear all these bullshit excuses, because we could have done much more than we admit. The thing is, if we failed in something, it feels pain. And we try to push away the pain. What I then suggest, we have to grab the pain so that we learn from it, not to fail again. But that we have to learn, because that doesn't go automatically. So, some mantras: every day we see a problem earlier, we have a day more to do something about it. Other mantra: what are we going to do about it? People coming with problems, I say, nice problem. What are we going? Either it's not important or it's important. If it's not important, I don't want to hear it anymore. If it's important, how are we going to solve it? Failure is a hard word, and that's why we use it. No pain, no gain. And we never ever say you failed. We always say we failed because we didn't help you not to fail. Included in that excuses stuff is ignore the first reaction. So if you show something is wrong, not with using the word you, of course, but the person knows he did it, yeah? Even if they agree, first you'll get, yes, but that's because blah, 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 blah. We are so trained in making excuses. So just let that come out and don't react on that, yeah? Because then you will react on what their first reaction, and you escalate in a direction both don't want to be. So ignore the blah blah, just wait, and then wait for the next reaction. Then we can talk business. So if something is wrong, our first thing is to explain why we couldn't have done anything about it, but we know we could have done something. So just wait, don't say anything, and then wait. Now we can talk business. Element of that is also the problem of problem denial. People are happy, and something goes wrong, and then you don't tell them it goes wrong because they're in denial. Yeah, people push away that. They feel something is wrong, but they don't want it to be wrong. Therefore, first the denial phase. Then after some time, they have to accept that there was a problem. That's the confusion phase, what to do about it. Then there is the solution, and then people are happy again. This is my problem as a coach. I should come in here, because if there is denial, there is no reason to help them. If they are already working with another guy in the confusion phase, they don't need me. So that's my sales problem. Other bullshit. Causes of delay. Typical causes: developing the wrong things. Well, you can read all this: misunderstanding, no fit, blah, 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 hobbying, politics, etc. Excuses, it's always them. How about us? What did we do about it? And we can start with what are the causes of these causes? And we get more bullshit. Yeah? Management, sense, no sense of blah, 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 all these things. Come on, guys. What are we doing about it? And one of the things is prevention. And for prevention, we have to do root cause analysis if there was a problem. And we must be careful, because if I ask what's the root cause analysis, people come up with the cause. And the cause is not the root cause. The cause is the error that caused the problem. And the root cause is what caused us to make the error that caused the problem. Because only if we know what caused us to make the error that caused the problem, we may be able to rectify that and try not to do that anymore. Most software testing stops at the cause, Band-Aid, done, next thing. So I asked in some team, guys, do we do root cause analysis on every problem we find? And the project manager and the architect in chorus said, on every problem? We then don't have time for that. Well, if you don't have time for that, maybe you have time to correct it. Without proper root cause analysis, we are doomed to repeat the same problems. Root cause analysis on every problem. Of course, only in the order of importance of the problem, but etc. Software testing, also interesting area. I always tell the testers, guys, you should be done as soon as development is done. How is that possible? Yeah, if they're just done, we still have to test. I said, well, you can test a lot before they are finished. Yeah, so almost. But excuses. Yeah, the developers are always late. The developers don't take us seriously. They don't inject enough defects because, well, apparently the requirements specify that there should be defects. Therefore, the developers produce defects and the testers have to check whether the developers really injected the right defects. And testers, I had that at the conference, somebody saying at the keynote, we are bearers of bad news. Come on, guys. We should work with development to be successful together. But you see, all these human behavior things, shouldn't we recognize it to start doing something about it? Well, with it. It's the last time you made a mistake. What's the last time you did something unnecessary? Be honest. Yeah, did you talk with others about it? Did you learn from it? Root cause analysis, what did you do about it? Now, I was teaching at the Japanese university, my quality on time course. They call that a crash course in 4 days. Yeah. And there was a guy, an American guy, who worked for a company in Tokyo. And he said, well, Niels, I'll tell you what I do about it. He said, if I make a mistake, I send a message to all my colleagues about my mistake and what I think I should have done or should do about it. And of course, first, all his Japanese colleagues thought, what a weird American. Yeah, he's telling everything he's doing wrong. But then, after some time, they started doing the same. When they made a mistake, they sent a message to their colleagues about their mistake and what they think they should do about it, or maybe just ask what should we do about it. You said, Neil, you see, Niels, he said, for every mistake I make, I get 10 back from my colleagues. I learn much faster. The power of question. The power of question. Don't tell people what to do or not to do. Shouldn't we better use the question form? Do you feel the difference? Don't tell people. Yeah, you should do something. Guess what happens? Shouldn't we better use the question form? Now this happened. What could we have done about it? You did something wrong. What are you going to do about it? No. We observed something was going on. What could we have done about it? What are we going to do later so that it doesn't happen anymore? Just telling creates resistance. A question invites a response. So don't tell people because you're wasting your energy. Because you have to, once the resistance is there, have to overcome the resistance, if that happens at all. A lot of Scrum Masters complain that the developers don't trust them and don't listen to them. Well, probably they told too much what the people should do. So, and then we can ask, well, just a question. Yeah. Would it a nice question invite an even better response? So it's not just question, but how to say the question. In Dutch, I'm Dutch. Yeah, we have gelijk hebben is niet genoeg. Gelijk krijgen is de kunst. I tried to translate it in English. Maybe there's an English version of it, but I haven't found it yet. It's not about being right. It's about how to make it accepted as right. Yeah. Besides, we could be wrong, couldn't we? So I always have the question for him, shouldn't we? Could we? And as an example, some innocent questions. When I start working with a team, people come in with their week plan, and after these questions, usually they come out with a modified plan. Yeah, because they come with their plan, and the plan may be shown like this. Yeah, I'm going to do these things. Yeah, and then I can ask, okay, that task number 7. Why would we do that? Never use you. Huh? Why would we do that? Who's waiting for that? If nobody's waiting, why are we doing it? How do we know we're doing the right thing? How do we know we're done? Who's paying our salary? Yeah? What do they need? How much do they need? When do they need it? Is it really necessary? How do we know? Is it really necessary now? Blah, 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 blah. What are we going to do about it? And many more innocent questions. By using these, people come in with a week plan, and they come out with a different plan, more going to do the right things and less doing not so right things. Immediate savings from day one. That's why I claim that when I start coaching a team, from day one, the first week already, they start delivering better results in much less time. Actually, that is so easy, but apparently not obvious. So avoiding you, I've mentioned it already. Why did you do it wrong? Do you feel what happens if you hear that? What did we do wrong? Yeah. Do you feel the difference? The person will know exactly that the person did it wrong. But what did you do wrong? Resistance. What did we do wrong? We can discuss it. You get a response. Not what are you going to do about it? What are we going to do about it? What could and should we do about it? If you ask that, maybe you get a blank face. So maybe you have to suggest something to trigger the imagination. Maybe we could do this, maybe we could that, but never ever tell them to do it. Because if in their mind there is something different, guess what they will do? So the trick is how to get in their mind to do the right thing, which even may be different from what you thought. Culture. Culture is ingrained customs. Things we learn by mimicking what we experience around us from childhood. So language is culture, social behavior, faith, religion, folklore, doing what we're used to do. Yeah, we don't know why we do it, even that we do it, we just do it. Experience, intuition feeds culture. Once we see other cultures, we can see that our culture isn't obvious at all. Neither is theirs. But still, we look through our own cultural spectacles. So, some people say we have to change the culture for the better. Well, forget it, you can't change culture. Because culture is the result of how we work together. So the only way to have the culture change is by doing things differently. So if we try to change the culture, we start at the wrong end. I was teaching in Japan, and I thought that was important to discuss this at the beginning of my lecture. Because in Japan, I learned that the R&D boss, a cousin of me, was an R&D boss at the semiconductor company. And his people, they were afraid to be open to each other. So I thought it is important to talk about culture, but not telling what I think Japanese culture is. Who am I to know? I said, Dutch. Well, maybe I have to say me, because, of course, not all Dutch are the same. Yeah? Open, direct, explicit, blunt, informal preaching. If the boss comes, can you do this? We say, do it yourself, and things like that. Yeah. And then I asked the people, how about you? Of course, no answer. So I said, okay, guys, can you say no? And because, well, the Japanese audience today can tell me I'm wrong, but Japanese, as far as I know, cannot say no. So, can you say no? They have to say no, but they can't. Then I said, well, I'm sure you're quite capable to tell each other no, but you do it in a way I don't recognize. Yeah, and actually, in Dutch, we also can say no without saying no. We say yes, but, which means exactly the same. I was outsourcing the company I was working with. They were outsourcing some development team to a development team in Minsk before all that Ukraine trouble started. So the company was still a development company in Minsk. Now they work in Poland. Yeah. So every week I sat with the boss in Dublin, and we had a meeting with the project manager and the architect in Minsk. And when we opened the Zoom, they were sitting there waiting for us to ask questions. I said, guys, this is your project. Yeah. We want you to generate the questions that we will ask during the week, find the answers so that we can discuss the questions and the answers now. Because if now we ask a question, we have to wait for next week because you need time to think about the answer, right? So I said, why not you ask the questions that you think we will have, because you're in the middle of the development, it's your project, it's your success, yeah? And then we can discuss. And later, they said, we liked this approach very much, but they were used to work with Russian clients. And well, we know that now better than before. Yeah, Russian customers usually tell you, you have to do this, you have to do this, you have to do this. And in this case, we said, you find out what you have to do. You know what the requirement is and find out what you have to do. So also interesting cultural change. Do you agree? Have you tried to change people? Of course you can't. Yeah. So people oppose change? No, people don't oppose. People love change if it's for the better for them. Yeah. Any change creates uncertainty. Now, we don't like uncertainty too long because it feels uneasy. So, I said before already, do this 3 weeks for me. If you trust me, keep the uncertainty for 3 weeks, because then you will find out yourself. So people love change, but subconsciously, they don't like uncertainty. Change is something. Introduce uncertainty. The result of our project creates uncertainty of the users. So how quickly can they adapt? Yeah, people can cope with uncertainty for a short time, but don't tell them, if you do your best, in 1 year, everything will be better. Forget it. It doesn't work with humans. Have you heard this? We failed because of politics. Now, there are good politics and bad politics. Good politics, people decide differently based on different beliefs. That's okay. That's why we have politics. But bad politics is actually hidden agendas. They say this, but they mean that. Often they don't even recognize it themselves. Yeah. The thing is, bad politics thrives by vagueness. the moment things come in the open, they can't keep their bad politics anymore. That's why we need facts. Facts can make bad politics lose ground, and then maybe you can do something about it. So don't come with the bullshit. What did we do about it? Just another excuse. So our problems are not the real problem. The real problem is if we don't do something about it. Every day we see a problem earlier, we have a day more to do something about it. Humphrey, he doesn't live anymore, but he is one of the people who early users of Evo, without calling it Evo, as far as I understand. Sometime he said, why don't they practice what we preach? We know what we preach is so much better for better results, quality on time and so on. Why don't they do it? Why does it take decades and then still they don't do it? Yeah, I see somebody in the waiting room, let's admit. So, well, my answer was, they don't. But that's not all. The next thing we have to think, what now? What are we going to do about it, which is one of the most important mantras. So we have seen several elements of human behavior. Recognizing and understanding behavior is a start of doing something about it. We can't change the genes. We can't do something about it. We can do it with it, recognizing that, and then notwithstanding, what can we still do to have a better result? Why don't they practice what we preach? They don't. What now? Thank you.